The title of my talk is UFO-related contact, anomalous experiences, and the transformation of consciousness towards the unification of diverse modalities of contact. Now, those are a lot of fancy words for people who are not used to these languages, but basically, to me, what all of this is all about is about transforming your psyche, okay, to view our reality as much more complicated, much more diverse than what we normally think it is. That we actually live in a multiverse, that this multiverse is filled with numerous conscious, sentient beings, and that we as humans have the capabilities of tapping in to the same consciousness field streams that these entities are utilizing. And to me, I can only speak about personally my own personal experiences. I realize that I am a spirit, I'm not just flesh, that we are eternal. And I've and my family have been totally transformed by our experiences in a positive nature. And right now I see reality totally different than what I saw before. So let me go and talk a little bit about my personal background so you can understand how this transformation took place. And then a whole lot of details of my own personal experiences. And then I'll talk about the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters and how it began and how it started and what is our mission. So I apologize, but our speakers are not working. Now, Dr. Edgar Mitchell is one of the co-founders of FREE. For the individuals that don't know who Dr. Mitchell is, he not only was the sixth man on the moon, he also founded the Institute for Noetic Sciences in California, and that is a major organization worldwide that focuses on consciousness, energy healing, and they've been working in these two principal areas for close to 25 years. Edgar is also, a lot of people don't know, he is also a premier physicist and scientist. He's worked on the physics of consciousness, particularly the quantum hologram theory of physics, and also in terms of sustainable living. He's been promoting the aspect of sustainable environments and how humanity has to make a shift towards sustainability as well. So he's been a pioneer in numerous fields. So anyway, this little short video that Edgar was going to talk about is the need, first of all, the realization that non-human intelligent beings do exist, that we live in a multiverse, and that we need to start building relationships with these entities. Sometimes I'll refer to the name of ET, but I don't necessarily mean extraterrestrial in the sense that these are from planet or Venus or Mars, but that these are, at least from my own personal experience and my knowledge, beings that can be compared to angels in terms of the ability to have all the tools and insights of almost angelic. So let me proceed a little bit with the presentation. A little about my background. My experiences started in March 4th of 2012. Okay, so it's just very recently. Before then, I was an atheist. Okay, my wife grew up in Mexico, so she was a hardcore Catholic. She had to go to church every Sunday, and for me, it was a chore to go to church. And also, in terms of my academic background, I am what you would consider a material rationalist. I was before, which is someone that's thought very linearly that science was the key to it all, logic, reasoning, and the total indoctrination of our mainstream science. And I am currently working as it's not here, but I went to law school after I had gone to Berkeley for a PhD. And University of California, Berkeley is a very known university, very highly recognized, one of the top universities in the world. It actually has produced the most Nobel Prize winners in the world. I'm an ABD, all but dissertation. So I did I went to Cornell for a master's degree, then I went to Berkeley for a PhD. I did all my coursework, passed all the exams, and when I was writing my dissertation, my ex-wife got a brain aneurysm, so I could never complete it. And so then, later on, I worked for the City University of New York, and there I took advantage and I went to law school at the City University of New York, and very cheap tuition, and I became an attorney. And so, previous to that, I had worked for the City of New York as a director of the Office of Community Environmental Planning. And then I worked for the City University of New York, before it was the City of New York, as a director of an environmental research center. And then the first job that was offered to me was a job as an estate tax attorney, which is the most boring job you could think of, working for the Department of Treasury. And my specialty is inheritance tax. So that's what I do. I audit an inheritance tax return, which is, as I said, the totally antithesis of my reality now. But it was a stable job. I have a daughter now, married, so I have to think of job stability. So it's a boring job, but it pays the bills. Now I'm going to go over a brief summary of my experiences. And as I said before, total atheist, I had no concept of spirituality, of God. I would go to church with my wife, and that's just to accompany her. And my mindset was as a pure material rationalist. Okay, March 4th, 2012. Our dog, Nena means little girl in Spanish. We had her before our daughter was born. This is my daughter there, and right next to her is my wife. And obviously, that was a very long time ago. You can tell by my body and my hair. But my daughter's now almost 13. July 31st, she'll be 12 years old. And that was my daughter's, I think it was her first year birthday party. So our dog was like our first daughter. Okay. So by the time this experience of 2012, our dog, Nena, was like a 16-year-old lady. She was taking diuretics to flush her heart out of excess liquid. She was taking Viagra for her heart. We were spending, I don't know, like $350 a month in medications for her. But she was our baby. We were keeping her alive. And the way she was walking around was like an old lady on crutches. She was like, and, we were trying to sustain her. She was a member of our house. So then, one Saturday evening, we noticed that she was totally paralyzed. Like she was moving her neck, and couldn't move her body. So at that point, we called our vet, who was a friend of ours, Dr. Phil Cruz, and he told us, what you're telling me, it seems like she had a stroke. So if you want, we'll open up the office tomorrow and we'll put her to sleep. So my wife, all night, as a hardcore Catholic, was praying all night and hoping that a miracle would happen. Okay. So in the morning, the dog woke us up at 6 o'clock in the morning by barking, because that's all she could do is neck up. And so we checked her out, and we noticed that she was still paralyzed. We moved her on the floor, we pushed her around, so she was totally paralyzed still. So my wife then, I went back to sleep. And I remember Sunday morning, 6 o'clock. I didn't sleep well the night before, so my wife carried her down the stairs. And so when she got down the stairs, she saw this thing here. And the way she described it, it was a metallic color. It was solid, 2 feet wide by 3 feet in height. A foot and a half in height, excuse me. So I guess the translation would be 2/3 of a meter, I guess, right? By half a meter in height. And it was floating 4 feet off the ground, and it was in the corner of our living room. So immediately my wife knelt down and started praying. And basically in her head, she says, if you're a bad spirit, get the hell out. If you're a good spirit, please help out, or Anita, okay? And then all of a sudden, these 2 green lights inside started blinking on and off. And then here from the side is shot fluorescent light. At that point, my wife freaked out. And it was like, Ray, Ray, Ray! And I totally ignored her, because I thought it was, she had seen a cockroach or something like that. It was Sunday, 6 o'clock. Don't mess with me, man, I want to keep asleep, You deal with it, It was, Ray, Ray, Ray! So after, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes, I forgot exactly how long it was, she went upstairs, okay, and she hauled me out of bed. Okay, and I said, what is it? What's going on? And you'll find out. You'll find out. Come downstairs with me. Come find out. I said, what is it? What is it? You'll find out. And she was like dragging me, right? So then she starts walking in front of me down the stairs. We live in a 2-story house. Now, before I get to that, my wife lands on the bottom floor, right? And I'm like 2 stairs behind her. All of a sudden, she disappears. Poof. Okay. And I didn't even think. It was like automatically, I shifted to the corner, and I started looking at the same area that she had seen that other craft, okay? And then, again, for some of you that are non-experiencers, it's difficult to understand some of these things, I'm telling you, because it's not logical, Your mind is not thinking logically, okay? So, as a preface, because you're like, that's crazy. How could he, I didn't even think of his wife to disappear in front of him. No, it's just... that's not the way it works, So you're looking then at the corner, right? And this is what I saw, okay? Same exact area that she had seen the craft, okay? And then, let me describe it for you. It was about this wide, I guess like 2 feet wide, and it was about this much in height, like half a meter in height, like 2/3 of a meter in width. And it was 4 feet off the ground, semi-translucent, multicolored, just like you see here. And it was like an energy, pure energy, like fluctuating like this, okay? And then I did again something totally illogical, okay? That some of you that are, non-experiencers, you're like, how did this guy do this, But what I did was I looked at it, I squinted at it, bullshit, I turned around, I walked up the stairs, okay? And then I said this guy has his eyes closed. I couldn't find a picture with someone with their eyes wide open, okay? So I was there looking at the ceiling like this, straight up at the ceiling without blinking my eyes. And then I don't know, like after a minute or 2, all of a sudden I was like in a coma. I had no recollection, okay? And then I woke up, I don't know how long it was. I think it was 15 minutes later, okay? And then 15 minutes later I was like, like, what the hell just happened, And I ran down the stairs, and it was like the hypnotist snapped his finger, like you see in those movies and stuff, like someone's been hypnotized, and someone, hypnotist snapped his fingers, and you're like, you pop out of it. That's how it was, And I totally had forgotten that my wife had disappeared in front of me. All I knew was that it's like all the strangeness had occurred, downstairs, and I needed to find out what the hell is going on. So I run down the stairs, okay, and there this is like sort of like an image. My wife was dancing. The angels cured her. The angels cured her. The angels cured her in Spanish. Los ángeles la sanaron. Los ángeles la curaron. Los ángeles la sanaron. She was like, and then the dog was like, shoo, 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 and jumping up and down and jumping up and down, and she was getting the dog and dancing with her and kissing her. Oh, the angels cured her. And I was like, what? It was like, the way I described it is like I got hit over the head by a 2x4, and then it was massive confusion because I said, what angels? What are you talking about? What angels? And she says, you saw it, you were there, the angels cured her. I said, I didn't see any angels, I saw this floating plasma thing, No, I wasn't there. What I saw was like this little, ship, a little craft. And I think there was even little people inside of it, These 2 green lights were blinking on and off. I said, well, what are you talking about, And it wasn't until months later that I learned about this concept of missing time, you know. I had no conception of what that was. And so it was this massive confusion. And then I said, okay, let's draw what we saw, right? Then she did a drawing of what she saw, she described it. Then I drew what I saw, and then she said, no, that wasn't there, you know? And then I realized, it wasn't even within a couple of days, it was like later I realized, remember this is all massive confusion because you're not thinking logically with any of this, okay? Then I realized that she thought that I never went upstairs. From her memory, it was like she had gone down the stairs, all of a sudden she looked down and the dog was like dancing and getting better. It's like all of a sudden, that's what was in her mind, you know? So it was like totally wiped out, that time period, okay? And then, after that, I just went to the internet, you know, UFOs, you know, ETs, paranormal, you know, trying to find out what the hell's going on, because I had no conceptions of these things, you know. I was totally outside of my vocabulary. And all it did was just confuse me, you know, even more. You know, they're devils, they're angels, they're Nephilims, they're Anunnakis, they're this and that. And I'm like used to going to a library and getting a book, you know, and getting an answer, you know. And here, it's like this guy knows all the answers. He's got it all solved. And this other person knows all the answers. He's got it solved, you know. And they were contradicting each other, you know. And I was like, you know, doesn't anybody can give me some answers here? What's going on, you know? And it was just this state of total confusion, okay? And then meanwhile, this is what happens, okay? 2 months later, the dog, our dog Nana, who was now like a teenager, you know, prancing around the house, you know? We brought her to the vet, okay? Because we were like, you know, what the hell's going on, you know? We brought her to the vet, and we didn't tell the vet, okay, what went on. And he checked her out, and he says, what happened to her, you know? And we don't know, she just woke up like that one day, you know? No, something must have happened. I mean, did you change your diet, or, you know, trying to, and a year later, we told him what happened, and he thought that we were nuts. He's like totally changed the subject, you know? But we did tell him, his name is Dr. Phil Cruz. He's on Bird Road and 57th Avenue, okay? And he knows the whole story now. And he knows about my daughter and my wife, the whole thing. So at least you guys know I'm not making this up. So anyway, our dog lived for almost another year. Okay, she had like 11 months of pure, excellent health, and then she declined for over a 2-week period. But she didn't need any medicine. He told us to wean her off of it, you know. And then she didn't need any more medicine because she was perfectly healthy. So anyway. 2 months later, the dog, Nina, woke my wife up at 3:30 in the morning. And then my wife said, okay, maybe she needs to go to the bathroom, okay? So, you know, my wife got up. And so Nina always went to the back door because we have one of those little doggy doors, you know? And she goes into the backyard and she has her little space. No, she was jumping on the front door. She never did that. The only time she did that was when we had our chain. And she knew we're going for a walk, or we're going in the car. And she was like all excited, you know, and she goes to the front door with us. Never in the middle of the night or when we're not going out. So she was jumping on the front door. So my wife goes down the stairs in the front of the house, and we live in a cul-de-sac, a very large cul-de-sac, large lots, very quiet neighborhood. So my wife heard a noise like a 747 jet was right above her. Very, very loud noise. And she said it was almost, it was deafening, the noise. And how long did it last? It was like a minute or two. I said, what happened? It just stopped, the noise. And what happened next? Well, I looked up, and I saw this thing, okay? And she described that it was like I guess American football, not Australian football. But it was elongated, like a very thin, fat cigar. And she described it that it was like maybe several blocks away, between a certain tree and another tree. So our best estimate was like it was 300 feet. And this is how she described it to me. When in the morning, oh, the angels came and visited me last night. Okay, she said it had colors just like the stained glass windows of our church. It was so beautiful. And I was there, you know, meditating with them, you know. And And then I said, well, what happened? How long did it last? She said, well, it lasted about a minute or two. And then she said, all of a sudden, it just disappeared. Okay. And so that, and I would say, angels? What angels? What are you talking about? You know, what you saw was a UFO. She says, oh, because you're an atheist, you know? And you don't believe any of these things, you know? It was my angels visited. And once you start understanding that God exists, then you might be able to see some of these things, you know? So that was, you know, her mentality, you know? And which now I don't doubt her anymore. And then what happened? In July, she went to Mexico and she stayed with her family for a month. Then in Mexico, she began to have numerous sights of UFOs. Let me explain the first one. I'll go through a series of them. Okay. The first one was she was on the roof of her sister's house in Veracruz, Mexico. And then the way she's not a meditator, but sometimes she does meditate, but very rare. This time she was on the roof and she was, you know, like meditating, wanting to see that craft. Okay, the angels. She calls them angels. Okay, she doesn't talk about craft. She wants to see the angels. So then she was up there, the way she explained it, maybe 45 minutes. And she was looking up at the stars and she didn't see anything. So then she goes downstairs. Then at the 11 o'clock news, the lead story at the 11 o'clock news was like, UFO over Veracruz airport, stops airport traffic for an hour. We've got 3 reporters at the scene. One at the airport, one at the port, the Malecon, and another in some other location. And they had video, they had pictures, they had numerous witnesses. Okay. Now, my wife didn't tell anyone, because, you know, how are you going to tell, you know, your family members that you had that experience in your house, and now you called this craft, you know, like, no, you know, so she was quiet. Then the next day was the baptism of her niece. And at that birthday party of the niece, no, this is beforehand, before the birthday party of the niece, she went on a spiritual retreat outside of Mexico City to one of those mountains, and this was the middle of the summer. And the way she described it, it was very, very cold there. And it was a 3-day retreat that you don't sleep, basically. It's like you're constantly awake and you're meditating, you're trying to connect, that type of an atmosphere. And then one night, in the middle of the night, she went out, because they have like an outhouse, it's like a spiritual retreat center. And then outside, she saw these 3 very tall, what you're seeing, almost exactly like this. And she said, described them as 8 or 9 feet tall, and they were gliding, not walking, just gliding. And it was like for maybe 15 or 20 seconds, just gliding in front of her. And all of a sudden, they disappeared. And the distance was like maybe, I don't know, 20 to 30 feet, the way she described it. So I guess from here to that wall back there. And she just, to her, it's like her angels came and visited, came and said hello. This is not a big issue. And she didn't tell me any of these experiences after she got returned back from Miami. Okay, whoops, I'm skipping up ahead here. Okay, then in her niece's baptism, she was at a table, and then that was the topic of conversation, the UFO craft that they had seen. And then there was a second cousin of hers that she hadn't seen in many, many years. And so the second cousin told the people at her table, you know, I see these UFOs all the time, you know, and as a matter of fact, I communicate with them, with these beings, okay? And one time they even healed me of, she was going to be operated of a problem with her throat. I forgot what she told my wife, but it was something very serious and she had to get an operation. And she described these beings, I don't remember how she described them to my wife, that they came with a light, with a light on her throat. And then when she woke up, she didn't feel the problem that she had before. She was like totally cured. And she went to the doctor. The doctor was checking her up, and she was totally cured, totally healed. So then my wife then pulled her to the side. I said, "Can I talk to you?" You know? And that's when my wife started to tell her all these stories. So then what happened was that everyone was staying overnight locally in Veracruz, and then the next day everyone was leaving to their original destination of where they lived. So my wife was going to then be staying with another sister that lived up in the mountains. Not really mountains, more, it's in big altitude change. And then the other cousin of hers was going to go down the coast. So they said, okay, let's do this. Why don't we try to call down a craft at 9 o'clock? And then later on tonight, we'll compare notes, okay? See what happens. And so, you know, they both thought about it, you know, meditated about it, you know, together. Okay, you know, and we'll compare notes, you know, the next night. Well, my wife was a little bit delayed with her sister, and there was a 2-car caravan. They live in Jalapa, which is the capital of the state of Veracruz. So they were going up this, you know, hills and up to higher elevation. It's a big change in elevation. Very hot and muggy, like here it's in the summer. And then once you get up there, it's like very cool, you know. And so, so it's this rugged terrain that they were going up. Not at 9 o'clock, but 9:30, a big craft appears. Descends from the sky, beams a blue light in front of the lead car for like a minute or two. Then the blue light disappears, and then the craft just takes off. The craft was like purplish in color. And then I interviewed her sister, her 2 nieces, and 2 of her friends in Mexico. And they described that event. Now, my wife didn't tell me any of that when she came home to Miami, okay? Because remember, I was like a lunatic. I was on the internet the whole day, you know, just reading UFO books, going to the internet, watching YouTubes, like if Peter Slattery was around. I'd be watching all 150 videos of Peter Slattery now, you know. I was trying to get answers. I was trying to find out. So my wife didn't tell me because it's like adding more fuel to the fire. Okay. So what happened? A couple of days after she got back, and let me tell you, this is in August of 2012. I'm an attorney. Okay. So I had a friend that had all these parking tickets. So he was telling me that he's got to go to court like 8 different times or 10 different times with all of these different parking tickets. And I said, look, bring me the tickets. I'll do a motion to consolidate. I'll put them all together under one umbrella and just go one time to court. And I said, but I need the tickets. So he called me up, and it was at night. It was about 9 o'clock at night. He says, Ray, I got the tickets. I said, okay, good. Where you at? I'm close by. I said, okay, I'll wait for you outside. So I'm waiting for him outside. And then I started thinking about that huge craft that my wife had seen, because I'm never out in front of the house. It's like totally desolate, you know, no neighbors, it's totally quiet. And so here I'm waiting, and I'm saying, my God, that was a huge craft that my wife saw, because I'm looking at it between the 2 trees. And then all of a sudden in my head, I remember this guy named Prophet Yahweh, this American guy who called these crafts in the middle of the day when he has a little camcorder. You saw this little tiny speck of dust moving around. And so I said, what the hell, I can do that too, let me try, you know, to experiment. Not that I was expecting a craft, it was just, while I'm waiting for my friend, I've got time to kill, let me call down a craft. Let me try what this guy did, right? So it was, I had no sincerity in doing this. But when I tried to call it, then I tried to get my sincerity up. Okay. Oh, I want to see you, the beautiful angelic craft that my wife saw. She describes you as angels. You came and cured our dog. You had colors just like the stained glass windows of our church. She had the privilege of seeing you. I didn't. Could you please show up? I want to see you. You know, it was. And then I would turn around. You know, I would like look around. You know. Okay, second round. I want to see you. You know, the beautiful, the angels, the angelic craft. You know, the whole works. But I was sincere when I was saying it, you know, I'm not fooling around like I'm doing it now. I was really, you know, I wanted to see them, and I described it just the way that my wife described it, okay? And I did it for 15 minutes, 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I was like, I'm freaking going crazy. This UFO shit's got me nuts, you know? I need to stop because I'm losing my mind, you know? Here I am calling down a craft, you know? And immediately when I thought that, this is what this is my house. My house is right here. Remember I told you it's a cul-de-sac? Okay. Now, this is not even an accurate description because I took a picture of that house. The graphic artist, a friend of mine, did the whole superposition. But it's actually double that size because I couldn't take a picture more back because there was a big tree. Remember I told you these big gigantic trees? There was a big tall tree limb that blocked me being able to take that picture. So it was actually even further back, and it was like about here. And then in terms of the angle, it was like these three components, like I told you. But it went this way, like that, straight back. 2 blocks away, there was a 6-lane highway. I'm sure if I put my dollar on it, there was the last part there was above that 6-lane highway. Okay. And what it was comprised of, again, he didn't do the drawing correctly the way they worked. Okay. What it was comprised of these, you see these oblong streaks. These oblong streaks went like that, all the way back, like that. Okay. It went back like 600 meters. Okay. And then inside was all like these type of street things, but inside. All white, all colored white. Okay. And it formed like the whole skeleton of the craft. And so immediately after I saw it, I was looking at it, I wasn't scared. It was like holy shit, you know, like wow, you know, and I'm just looking at it. Then almost like within a second or two, I hear a voice in my head. Daddy, you and Mommy have seen UFOs. Next time you guys see a UFO, you call me, all right, Daddy? Don't forget. My daughter never told me that, okay? So immediately in my head was, my daughter wants to see a UFO. My daughter wants to see a UFO. I gotta call her. Scotty! Come! What is it? She opens up the window. What is it, Daddy? Hurry up! There's a UFO in here. Hurry up! Run! So she shoots out. So now it's 2 people watching this thing, you know. Daddy, what is that? Sweetheart, it's a UFO, but it's hiding. It doesn't want to get caught. We have radar all over the place. And if it materializes like a big solid spaceship, it might get caught, right? So it's doing this to hide itself. Oh, thank you, Daddy. You know, my daughter had just turned 10 years old. And we weren't scared. It was like we were being entertained. Like on your Independence Day, they have fireworks, you know? That's the environment, you know? I mean, you give me the hot dog, give me some popcorn, and give me a cold beer, you know, it's going to be a long night. That was, you know, the attitude that we had. You know, we were just being entertained. Then, 15 minutes later, we were watching This Comes My Friend. Okay, he doesn't come alone. He comes with his wife and their 17-year-old daughter. Okay, and they leave the car right in the middle of the cul-de-sac and they run. Okay, Ray, what is that? I said, you don't damn know what it is. No, it can't be. Okay, and then they were like, the first description was a circus light. You know, like those light beams that shoot up from the ground and go like this, you know? Oh, those are circus lights. I said, well, where's the damn circus, you know? And also the lights were whoops. The lights were oblong, and it was shooting all the way back and like going around, and it was forming this whole shell. So unless you had like thousands of circus lights going all the way around, you know, no, it's got to be the traffic light. The cars behind us from the street, they're bouncing off the clouds because it was totally cloudy sky, okay? And this was translucent, okay? It's just like you're looking at it like that. It was like translucent, okay? So it's got to be the traffic lights. They're bouncing off the clouds. Oh yeah, so we got like thousands of cars behind us, you know? And then the lights are horizontal, you know, beaming, you know. No, what's another one? Well, atmospheric conditions. Right? And so after both of them were coming up, it was mainly him, but the wife said a couple of these crazy explanations. I started laughing, okay? And again, this is not rational what I'm telling you, I'm just telling you what happened. So I started laughing, and in my head, I was like, you better come up with some better shit than this, you know? Because they don't believe you, okay? All of a sudden, these oblong streaks of lights that you see, these oblong things, stopped. What was replaced by were these stars. And they were like 10 times the size of Venus. You know, they were huge. And they were blinking on and off in a fraction of a second, like 2 or 3 times, all throughout the whole thing. And then the pattern was that certain areas would be concentrated with the big, you know, power-ups, whatever they call them now, you know. It was like certain areas would be like these larger signs, you know, they would be concentrated here, then they would move here, then they would move here, they would move there, you know, all around. And it was be like every 5 seconds or so, be moving to different areas. And so now, no one had a doubt what this was, okay? No more like anomalous atmospheric conditions and stuff like that. You know, it's like everybody knew what it was. So our friends stayed for about 10 minutes after the stars came up. okay? Then all of a sudden, we gotta go, we got things to do. Okay, now is that normal? Is that logical? Okay, you're seeing a once in a lifetime experience. Also, you see these lights here? It was our neighbor that had put on the lights in the living room, and they were looking at us, okay? It was two people. I assumed it was husband and wife, or the husband and one of the kids. They were looking at us. Now, a normal thing to do, normal, logical person, you would go and you run to the door, you know, Pablo, get the hell out, look what's on top of your house, okay? No one did that, okay? Cell phones. Everyone had a cell phone, except my daughter was 10 years old. Now, teenagers, we know the teenagers, they sleep with a cell phone, okay? That cell phone never leaves their hand, okay? They had a 17-year-old, okay? And that 17-year-old, every time we met her, she was always with a cell phone, always, right? Now, did someone think about, okay, let's pop open the cell phone, let's take a little picture of this? Nothing, okay? Because always people ask, how come you didn't take a picture? What, are you crazy? You saw this thing, you didn't even take a picture? You know, no, it doesn't work that way, okay? So then I didn't even question my friends leaving. What, are you crazy? You're gonna be leaving now, and here we got this, if we take a picture of this, we'll be on the cover of Time magazine for like 5 years straight, you know? No, I didn't even question them leaving. It was like, oh, don't worry about that motion I'm gonna do for you. You know, call me tomorrow, and we'll work it out so you can pick it up, you know? What I'm getting at is that your mind is under control. You don't have full control of your mental thinking here, okay? It's under control. And let me give you the final illustration of this, okay? After my friends leave, okay, then it's my daughter and I were then watching it for another 15 minutes. And again, we were being entertained. There was no panic, no fear, oh, the evil aliens and stuff like that. No, it was just, you know, wow, this is cool, you know? Look at over there, you know, that type of atmosphere. Then all of a sudden, I felt I was being attacked by mosquitoes. I was wearing shorts, and I was slapping my legs, slapping my arms, and I was being tortured by these things, right? And like after a minute, I couldn't take it anymore. So I go to my daughter, I said, come on, Scotty, let's get out of here. These mosquitoes are killing me, okay? Meanwhile, this show is going on, okay? Now you get a herd of elephants now coming at me. You think I'm gonna leave? No way, man. I'm not leaving, I'm watching this thing. You know, I don't care if there's a billion mosquitoes, okay? But at that point, in my head, the mosquitoes are eating me up alive, I gotta go inside, okay? So I go inside. 5 minutes later, my daughter goes to me, Daddy, there were no mosquitoes outside. And I remember when I was in my bed, I was asleep, and all of a sudden, he hit him to snap his finger. All of a sudden, again, I woke up. I was like, holy, you know, what the hell just happened, you know? And I woke up. So I quickly grabbed my video camera, I grabbed my regular camera, I ran outside, nothing. Nothing was there, okay? Now this thing didn't make any noise at all, okay? And in terms of moving location, the whole thing, no. It just, it was these, first was the oblong streaks of light, and then it was the stars. That was it in terms of movement. And so after it was gone, I was like, my God, this is gonna be on the front page of the news, because all these people must have seen this thing, okay? A couple of days after that event, I notified MUFON. And MUFON is like the biggest UFO organization in the United States. It's a huge organization. And what happened, I had signed up for MUFON back in March, like 2 weeks after I had that. And I found out what MUFON was. I didn't even know what the hell MUFON was. And then on the internet, I found out that this organization existed, so I signed up. I said, MUFON's gonna give me some clues, you know? They're gonna give me some articles. I'm gonna find out what's really going on, you know? And I never did find out. And so basically, I called someone from MUFON, and I said, my God, man, we hit the jackpot, you know? It was 5 people that saw a huge, gigantic craft, like 30 feet from us. And my daughter and I for 45 minutes. And so, so it was total bewilderment at that point, you know. And then I realized, my God, you know, I called this thing and it appeared, you know. Now here's the crazy thing that happened after that. It just gets more crazier and more crazier. Okay? After that experience for 4 months straight, and again, there's no logic to any of this, I'm telling you, okay? There's no rationality to this. You can't look at this in that way, okay? This is totally outside of the framework of rationality, how it impacts people and how it affects you. Somehow, for 4 months straight, all I did, I didn't have any social life. I didn't watch TV, I didn't go to the internet. I didn't go out with my wife on the weekends or anything. All I did 12 to 18 hours a day was to read books on consciousness studies, scientific consciousness studies, not metaphysical type of that area, but scientific consciousness studies, but mainly books on near-death experiences. Okay, I became an expert in NDEs. I must have read over 300 books on NDEs for 4 months straight. Okay, again, I didn't watch TV, I didn't go to the internet, I had no life. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like dead asleep, read with a book on my chest. It was like total mind control. My wife thought I was going insane. She was urging me to go to a psychiatrist to get some medication because she said, I've totally lost it, okay? Now, what happened? At the end of 4 months, okay, for 3 days straight, I hit the lottery. Friday, December 21st, Saturday, December 22nd, Sunday, December 23rd. The very first 3 people I ever talked to about NDEs. I had never spoken about NDEs to anyone. No, okay? The very first 3 people, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all of them had an NDE, okay? The very first one, okay, was my daughter's pediatrician. I had never even met this pediatrician. My wife always brought her to the doctor, okay? For 4 years, she was our daughter's pediatrician. My daughter got a fever for 2 days straight. For whatever reason, my wife couldn't bring her, I brought her. And then we were in her office. She's from Colombia. She's a short woman like this. I'll say her first name, not her last name. Her first name is Claudia, okay? And out of my mouth comes like a robotic voice. And as I was saying this in my head, I was like, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this? Shut up, be quiet, why are you saying this? Am I going crazy, And this is what I said. Excuse me, doctor, have you ever heard of the term near-death experiences? I've just finished reading approximately 300 books on this phenomenon, and it's something that you need to be aware of, okay? Out of those 300 books, approximately 50 were written by medical doctors such as yourself. And out of those 50, I would estimate that approximately 10 were written by professors in medical school. So it's a scientifically, a studied phenomenon, and you need to be aware of it, And all of a sudden, her eyeballs pop out, And I was like, holy shit, I offended the hell out of this woman, And why did I say that? Oh, excuse me, doctor. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said that. I didn't mean to offend you, No, you didn't offend me. How did you know I had one? And then she goes out and tells me about her near-death experience. We don't have enough time to go over the details, but basically she floated out of her body. Okay, she saw the doctor, described the doctor, the nurse, 6'3" or 6'4", tall, blonde hair like a basketball player. The nurse was very short, heavy set with a short haircut, 1950s glasses. She then floated through 2 walls, and then on top of her parents. And then my daughter was right next to me. Okay, here's another little side note. My daughter has had 3 people to tell them about their own near-death experiences in front of my daughter. Now that's, that's not typical, okay? So the first one was the pediatrician. The last one was Ezekiel Hernandez. Imagine my same last name, and it has the same wheel that I had experienced later on, which you'll see. So it's crazy experience here. So anyway, I won't go into her near-death experiences. Basically, it freaked the hell out of me and freaked her out too, That was on Friday. Saturday was a church dinner. Okay, this is a social gathering. It's called Enriquecimiento Matrimonial, which is a social gathering of couples. And they had like a dinner, and it's a social acquaintance. My wife sat next to this lady who's from Mexico, just like she is, and then I met her husband for the first time, and he's a Cuban American like I am, and he works in a hospital. He's a X-ray technician. Okay, so we exchange our names. Oh, how are you? This and that. And like, excuse me, sir. Have you ever heard of the term near-death experiences? I've just finished reading approximately 300 books on this topic. It was like that, and in my head it was like, I'm going crazy. I was like going nuts, right? And I was like, excuse the French, but that was what was in my head, thinking. I wanted to convey the emotion of it. That it's not like a regular emotion. It's like your emotional extremes come out when these things happen, It's not normal, okay? And then all of a sudden, this guy's eyeballs pop out, right? And then he starts talking about his mother who had died the year before in his arms, in his house. No one was in his house. It was just him and his mom. And he had called the ambulance to come, and he was giving his mother mouth to mouth, and they had rushed to the hospital, and his mother was clinically dead. I think it was like for half an hour, and she was revived in the hospital. And then after she woke up, oh my son, what a dream I had last night, okay? What a dream I had, while I was gone, right? Oh, what happened, Mom? What do you mean a dream, Oh, no, it was like you were crying on top of me and you told me this, and you told me that. You were giving me, breathing air into my mouth, and you were crying all over me. And all of a sudden, this big, fat, black guy, 6'3", like a football player, comes crashing through the door. Behind him was a short, blonde woman, and they were dressed in I forgot what color it was, These are the paramedics, okay? She described them all, okay? She described that she was floating above her body the whole time. And she even was there when they were putting her in the ambulance. Like she was like floating on top of it. And all of a sudden she described being sucked by a vacuum cleaner, like, and then she went to this tunnel going like 1,000 miles an hour. Shoo! She saw a little light, like a bigger, and she popped out, okay? And I'll leave it at that. But basically God told her, it's not your time. That's what she said. She described it as God, not your time, you gotta go. Okay, so that was Saturday. Then I knew something was up. That it wasn't coincidence, okay? Because it was all me reading all those NDE books, consciousness studies. And then the very first two people is like, boom, I hit the lottery. This is like, this is not a coincidence. This is being orchestrated from above, okay? And then I said, I need to tell my old man about this, because my father was like, I've never seen him in church. He was like, whenever, my mother would talk about God, he was like, he does this and that, and that was my early childhood. Like, my father was a total atheist, right? And now he's, at that point, he was 83 years old, bedridden, very ill, you name the disease, we talked about it a little bit, you name the disease, he's got it, right? And I said, man, I need to tell my father about this, that, that we are spirit, that life does exist after death, that this is real, this is, he needs to know about this stuff before he passes away. So then I go every week and I visit my parents, and I'd say, come on, Mom, let's get Pop dressed, and I need something very important to tell both of you. So we got him dressed, and we helped him in his walker, and we went outside to the patio, and then I started telling him what happened Friday and what happened Saturday, the 2 days before. I didn't tell him any of the ED and the ET stuff, because that's just, too crazy, And so I started telling him the story. He goes, that happened to me. I go, what? He goes, remember 15 years when I had the open heart surgery? And then he starts telling me that he floated out of his body. He saw, all the doctors all around him, and similar characteristics. He got sucked up by a vacuum cleaner, he went to the tunnel. And then he went to the light, and then the light was so bright, he had a hard time adjusting to it, and then poof, there was his mother, his father, and his brother, okay, waiting for him, and they were like in a spirit form, and he didn't tell me whether they embraced or whatever, but it was some type of dialogue with them, and then they introduced him to someone that he said was God, and then before he continued, he says, well, upstairs time doesn't exist. I said, what do you mean time doesn't exist? He goes, I was up there at least 20 or 30 years. And I said, what do you mean 20 or 30 years? He says, that's how long it took God to show me all the good things I had done in my life and all the bad things I had done in my life. Right? And then he described it as if you're inside your brain again. So if he was like a little kid that was 13 years old fighting someone, a little kid on the floor, he experienced that not only from his brain, but also the brain of the little kid, that's receiving the punches from him, that sort of thing. And then he told me that after each of these types of lessons, God would tell him, well, what did you learn from this, And so that I stopped him and I said, well, do you remember any of these detailed lessons that he gave me? How the hell do I know? That was 15 years ago, and so at that point I turned to he didn't want to continue with a lot of these discussions, and so I turned to my mother and I said, Mom, you never told me this. Is this true? And she said, we only discussed it once. And And that was when my father came out of surgery. He was all excited to tell her this story. And my mother was, no, go back to sleep, go back to sleep. You just came out of surgery, go back to sleep. No, I need to tell you, No, go back to sleep, come down. No, I need to tell you. I said, okay, tell me. And that's when, the only time they talk about it, okay? And my mother thought it was the medication, whatever that they put you to sleep, I forgot what they call it. Anesthetic, right? And so she thought that's what it was, that he just had a nice nap, a nice dream, And so on the way home, like I knew this was all a setup job, So on the way home, I looked up in the sky, and I said to both the ETs and God, okay, I said, I was in Spanish, I was translated in English. I said, I congratulate you. You have managed to get in a 4-month period to totally convert someone who's a total atheist, material rationalist, into someone that has more a belief in God, that we are eternal spirit, okay, than any Catholic priest man. Okay, and I still believe that. It's not a belief. It's not a belief. It's a knowledge. It's a fact. And it was all pre-planned according to to my experiences. And it's the spiritual transformation of Rey Hernandez. Okay, so as you can see, even before I had that experience inside my living room, I had not been transformed. Okay, it took me seeing that huge craft and then going through those 18 months of hibernation, reading these books. And again, they were just books. Okay, but then for these 3 days in a row, it was like it became physical. It was right in my face. Okay. And with the last person was my own man, so it was like even more in your face. It's like your own father telling you this stuff. Now, let's talk about some more crazy stuff. Okay. After that, I had numerous paranormal, psychic, synchronicities, physics downloads. I don't have the time. I've been nonstop with Cheryl and Barry here and Susan telling them my stories, and it just continues. It's been one after another, which is you would think I'm making all of this up because it's just crazy. Now let me skip a whole bunch of experiences, okay, and go straight to May 2013. And I remember my experiences started March 4th, 2012. So here I was in the middle of a traffic jam. I work out of my house. I have all my cases, state tax cases in my house. And I go to the office 1 day a week. So I was in traffic, 8:30 in the morning. There's a big, gigantic traffic jam, okay? And I won't give the context of how it occurred. But basically at that point, I got what I call an ET telegram. I don't know how other people it is, but for me it wasn't a voice. It was like, Ray, wake up. You need to do this, you need to do that. No, it wasn't a voice, okay? And it wasn't like someone telling me what to do. It was like an instant information coming into my head, okay? And then the information, and then I'll tell you the vision that came along with it. But what I was basically told was that I need to inform humanity of the relationship between ETs, the spirit world, and then the way it was relayed to me was consciousness, and quantum physics, okay? And again, they didn't say ETs. They didn't say, oh, you need to tell, the world about the ETs and all that. No, it wasn't like that. It was like information. And the ETs was them, I'm just telling you ETs because that's an easy way of conveying, okay? So again, the relationship between these non-human intelligent beings, the spirit world, okay, and that's where the NDE stuff comes across, okay, and then what is consciousness and the possible quantum physics that might explain what is consciousness, okay? Now, weird, right? But that's not even it. I was inside, you see this wheel? Now blow this wheel up 100 times, okay? I was inside this little wheel here, okay? This wheel was spinning around me. Okay, slowly, very slowly, okay? Inside this wheel was, inside this wheel were various, what I call now, modalities of contact. So for example, here was near-death experiences. Here was out-of-body experiences. This was contacting, spirits, okay? This was remote viewing. This was mystical meditation. This was, ayahuasca, a hallucinogenic type of contact. So it's inside here was all these different mechanisms, modalities, ways that people are having contact with non-human intelligent beings, okay? And what was holding everything together, what was gluing everything together was consciousness. Okay? So while this thing was in my head, this thing was spinning around slowly. And it wasn't like I was seeing. It's not like it was in front of me, like a tablet or like a hologram. No, it was like, it was in my head. And you think you're going crazy, okay, if you got no one to talk to. Thank God that I had witnesses to my many experiences. If not, I thought I would be insane if these things just happened to me, okay? So that same day, and those of you that know Mary Rodwell, we were on Coast to Coast last weekend, and what's his name, George Knapp. I told him this story, and then I told him about Mary receiving an email that I had sent 7 months ago. She received it that day that I got the download. Okay, so she responded to me and she says, "Dear Ray, I apologize for responding to your email from 7 months ago, but the email just popped up on my screen." Okay, and so I told that to George Knapp on his Coast to Coast radio show. He asked Mary. He said, "Mary, Ray told me this thing. Is this correct?" She goes, "That's exactly how it happened." Okay. And again, there's no logic to this. If people here are looking at this in a logical way, there's no logic to this. This is outside of reality. It's outside of logic. Okay. So then I responded back to Mary. I said, "Well, you ain't seen nothing yet." Okay. Because what I had sent her was an email that talked about up to the point of my daughter and I and my 3 friends seeing the craft. I didn't tell her all the NDE stuff and all the other paranormal stuff, which I haven't told you guys either, okay? So then I sent her an email about all this crazy stuff that's happened since then. So, "Oh, Ray, we need to Skype, this is like, really crazy story what you're telling me, And so then we got on Skype and she started telling me about her work, her experience, and that what I've had is she's spoken with many people all over the world. Not similar to what I've had, but very similar in a sense of the experiences that we're having. And so then she mentioned that about this professor of astrophysics at Harvard that she had met several years before. And it was just in passing that she had mentioned his name. His name is Dr. Rudy Shield, and he is an emeritus professor of astrophysics at Harvard University. So he's had a battle for 20 years with Sir Stephen Hawking in terms of what is the true nature of a black hole. And guess what? Rudy Shield won the battle, okay? Now everyone accepts his theory of what is a black hole. And Rudy has a very unique theory of these black holes. His theory is that these black holes are actually the neurons of God's brain. Okay? That is where the Akashic fields lie. Because the way a black hole operates, it's not like all of a sudden something goes in there and gets sucked out to some other dimension. No. The way a black hole operates, and it's been verified now by most of the astrophysicists now, it compresses information, and I'm not talking matter, it's something different that the physicists use, information, which is basically thought, knowledge, okay? Compresses it, okay? And then what gets squirted out from it is all these types of rays, and which he knows, gamma rays, this delta ray, I don't know what the hell they are, but that's his field. But it's like, but that information gets stuck there, it stays there. And then he says it gets processed, just like the neuron in your brain. Information goes in there, gets processed, and it still gets retained. Just like a memory, okay? So again, we're not talking about a crazy man here. We're talking about someone that surpassed Sir Stephen Hawking in the debate in terms of what is a black hole. So anyway, the next morning at 9:30 in the morning, guess who gives me a call? Whoops. Dr. Rudy Shields. Okay. He calls me. And I didn't even know who this guy was. "Oh, I'm Dr. Rudy Shields." Well, who? "Oh, I'm a friend of Mary. She said that you and her spoke yesterday." I said, "Oh, yes. Oh, I apologize, So then for 90 minutes, he starts spoon feeding me baby food of quantum physics. And that modality, that experience that I had was 110% correct. That all of these contact modalities can be explained through the quantum hologram theory of physics and its theory of consciousness. That they're all interconnected. That all these people, the individuals have been researching, near-death experiences separately. They've been researching telepathy separately. They've been researching remote viewing separately. And all these little separate type of ways of seeing these contact modalities. But he said, no, it's all interrelated. It's all one phenomenon, including ET contact. Okay. So at that point, he started, teaching me all this quantum physics, which I knew a lot already because I had read those books on consciousness studies, scientific consciousness studies. He was just taking it to the next level and going into the quantum hologram theory of consciousness. He says, at the end of it all, he says, Ray, these ETs gave you very specific instructions. I said, no, they didn't give me specific instructions. This is this nebulous instruction of what I had to do. He says, well, don't worry, it'll come to you. But when it comes to you, I will be your advisor. You need to do something. Eventually you'll figure it out, but I will be here to back you up when you're ready. He goes, now write down this telephone number. I wrote it down. This is the telephone number of my mentor. And I said, okay, maybe some old, physics professor or something, Dr. Rey Mitchell. Okay. he says, I'm going to give a call to Edgar, and I'm going to send him an email. Edgar needs to talk to you. Okay. And I already knew who Dr. Edgar Mitchell was. I explained it a little bit briefly. Edgar is like a Renaissance man. He has pioneered numerous initiatives. He's the father of modern UFO disclosure studies. Okay. He was the founder of the Institute for Noetic Sciences, which is an institute that is trying to investigate telepathy scientifically. Energy healing. Okay, he started a whole branch in the Institute for Energy Healing to look at not only the science related to that, but spirituality related with that. The whole issue of prayer and group meditation to induce an outcome. I then, 4 hours later, I worked up the courage to give Edgar a call. I give him a call. He invites me to his house. Okay, he only lives 90 minutes away. So the very next day, I was at his house. I won't tell you all the details, but it was crazy. This guy was opening up to a total stranger, telling me all these things. Okay. At the end of it all, he says, Ray, you need to do something because they gave you a message. I don't know what the hell to do. It will come to you. And when it comes to you, Rudy and I will be here to back you up. You just let us know. We will be your scientific advisors. And then he said that he has a group called Quantrack, which is a group of physicists that he had been working with for many, many years. And they were working on the physics of zero-point energy, the physics of consciousness, and the physics of energy healing, that these people are at our disposal. Okay? And so then I came home and I immediately sent Mary an email. And I was like, Mary, you need to know about what's going on. This is what happened with Rudy. This is what happened with Edgar. This is all this crazy stuff. They're telling me I need to do this a project, and I don't even know what we're going to do, And so I said, look, why don't you and I and this other experiencer form an organization? We didn't even know what our mission was, what we're going to be doing, okay? And then we said, okay, and because Edgar and Rudy were not going to be doing any of the day-to-day stuff. So we didn't even know what we were going to be doing at that point. 2 weeks later, Mary calls me up, Ray, I've got the name for it. FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. So we had a name, but we didn't know what the hell we were going to be doing, okay? And so this is FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. Now, again, the way we're defining extraterrestrial, it's convenient for the name FREE, but everyone in our group now understands that these are non-human intelligent beings that more than likely are multi-dimensional, and we are clueless in terms of what these beings are, and how consciousness, how this interaction works. Now, our website is that we're building now is experiencer.org. Right now it's under construction. We have a little pamphlet that we have in the back, which is our old website. But again, it's an older website and it's out of date. This is our email, okay? And if you go to experiencer.org, you will see our email. You'll have a link to our Facebook, and we have 1,500 experiencers. And how many of you are familiar with that site, Free Experiencer, the Facebook? Okay, not too many, 4 people here. But there's not too many websites here on Facebook like this or anywhere. You guys can attest to it. We have a thread that might go into 200 responses, and it might have 100 different people responding to this thread. And it's all experiencers. All, if someone posts, oh, I had this experience one day, everyone then, oh, I had something similar, or I heard my friend or another person. It's very interactive. It's very respectful with each other, the way it should be. So if any of you are experiencers and you really want to start interacting with others, you can go to that site.